Hey everyone, this is the Coffee with a Geek program. It is December 2016. You can see behind me, I'm in Fredonia, New York, and we've got some snow. My coffee cup for today is from the NiceGate conference. Just came back from it a couple of weeks ago. It's our ISTE affiliate here, and had a great time and ran some coffee EDU sessions. So shout out to Alice Keeler. She's awesome, and we had some really great coffee EDU sessions with people sharing their resources and that sort of thing. With me today is Robin Sullivan, and Robin is a local, so she's dealing with snow too, but as she said, we're old hands at the snow stuff. No problems, we get through it. And to give you just a brief introduction of Robin, she is the online learning specialist and instructional at the Center for Educational Innovation at SUNY, State University of New York at Buffalo. She's the director of the Tools of Engagement Project, also known as TOEP, which we'll talk about. And she helps facilitate a university-wide culture of exploration and dialogue around online education through a variety of professional development opportunities, which sounds it sounds like a big, powerful sentence, and it actually is, I think. So, Robin, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you very much for inviting me to join you here.
So, Robin, let's just dig right into your background. So tell me maybe about your background in education and maybe transition that to today in online education. How did all that happen?
Well, I was one of the people who did not go to college right out of high school. Took me a number of years. I was in retail management. No, college was not something that I was interested in. And then after working in retail management, I said, well, if I want to go anywhere, I better start paying attention. And so I took some classes in business, and then I fell into a course that was offered through UB that was Intro to Computer Art. And I found out that I could easily use both sides of my brain, be a little bit creative, also be, thinking about the programming end of things. And since then, I had a great mentor at UB who, his name is Tony Rozak, who helped kind of guide me and gave me some, encouragement to go on with my studies, gave me some great opportunities to work through Roswell Hospital, working with the kids at Roswell, creating a program for them. And that just helped me understand that I wanted to help other people learn. And then with online learning, through UB, it seems like it's always just an extension. My role is to help faculty understand the benefits of using educational technologies, and online learning is just kind of one step in that continuum. And so I'm always, kind of working with faculty in all aspects.
Tell me about where you're seeing online education, because from my perspective as a professional developer, it's, I think certainly a future trend. It's not 100% here yet. Just maybe tell me about, your thoughts on online learning as it stands right now, and then transition maybe to where do you see online learning going? Because I think it's not going away, and I think there's some great opportunities there. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, well, I think here at the University of Buffalo, we are not on the leading edge of online learning. There's some pockets, and our Graduate School of Education, which is one of the areas that I worked with originally at UB, they're definitely making some great steps forward. And, the other parts of UB in our School of Social Work and nursing, there's some, things that are starting. Other than that, we have like a course here and a course there as compared to the programs and the schools I just mentioned. And, it's here to stay. People are less often asking, is online learning as good as? It's, it's just a method of teaching, and it provides a number of benefits, kind of alleviating the need to be in the same time in the same place. But I also, I don't see that online learning is going to replace traditional methods of learning. It's certainly, there will be many ways for informal opportunities for learning. And just like our connection here right now, we're not in the same place at the same time, but we're able to communicate and share from people that maybe I might not have had an opportunity to share and learn with. Yeah, I also see, there's just the way that media is evolving, and people can now create their own video stories, media stories. That's kind of the same. I hope to see the same ability to create and publish. Just as easy as maybe the generations before us were able to easily pick up a pen and paper and make a story. We'll be able to pick up computer, pictures, images, media, and create stories, again, working with people that might not be somebody that you're right next door to.
Do you think, I think you hit on something interesting there, and that actually you hit on a lot of things interesting there, but you talked about, how students may bring it back. As it stands right now, it seems like online learning has started out, and again, it's, I think, an evolutionary process. It's really kind of a one directional from teacher to student, pushing out content, lessons, and that sort of thing. Do you also see some real positive and real benefits of the students then being able to push it back to the teacher with some more, robust, for lack of a better term, assessments or, learning, to bring their learning back to you with some really high-powered technologies?
Yeah, I definitely think the really good examples of online learning are not when you're just pushing the content out. The really good examples that use online learning to the benefit is when the students and the instructors in the class are learning together and communicating and creating and solving problems that are real life problems or questions that need to be addressed or answered. So that's kind of the optimal, the constructivist, way of teaching and learning as compared to just the delivery of content.
The other piece you mentioned, and I think it's a natural, reluctance from teachers, is the idea that they're going to be replaced. If online learning, I can just take, I can be a teacher and I can teach 200 kids rather than, a traditional classroom. Can you address maybe that a little more head on as to, alleviate teachers' fears? Because I know that comes up, and again, it's a natural, it's a natural fear.
Yeah, I think that comes up, and I think that there's no way that online learning is going to replace the teacher. If all the teacher is doing is, delivering the content, then that's not really the best acts that a teacher can have. But when the teacher is kind of facilitating, mentoring, supporting, kind of helping guide the discoveries of somebody that's learning, that's what's the really good pieces or qualities of a good teacher.
Yeah, and I think too, sorry to interrupt, is I found just through my limited experience, I'm just starting doing some online courses, that you really can't have, one teacher to 200 kids. I mean, you can if it's really just kind of a rote, learning activity. But I found you really have to, again, keep class sizes to class sizes you'd find in the real world, because you do need to make those personal connections with your students. Again, depending on what it is you're teaching, some things can be kind of rote learned, but I think primarily, especially at the higher ed level, you really need an interaction with the professor. Are you finding that too? And is there some, I guess maybe to keep using that word, because I think maybe it's going a little too far, but do you find that there's some pushback from some teachers that don't want to go there because, there's a fear that it's one teacher for 200 kids? Or
I kind of think that, there might be some instances where, maybe a community of a couple hundred people would be good to learn from and with each other, but with some, instructors in there kind of guiding the conversations and guiding the learning. But, in the most effective online environments, then small groups working together, being able to know who it is in your small community is definitely the best way to do that. And sometimes I think it's administration might think, so the more, it's just online, you can throw a few more students in there. That's not something that should be encouraged. And, keeping to small communities where everybody gets to know each other as a person, because it's a little harder to know each other when you are not right in the same room with a person. It's not, sometimes you get to know somebody much more in depth when you're working with them in an online environment, but you still need to have those numbers be reasonable. But there's also something to be said for MOOCs, that they may, in some cases, they may be content. So should a MOOC be considered as a glorified library book, where you can, you don't have to start and finish the same path as everybody else, but can you go in and learn pieces that you want to learn, and learn with and from each other too.
So I brought up on the screen, can you see that, the Tools of Engagement
Yes.
project?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm hoping everyone can see that. I shared it out. Can you talk a little bit about the Tools of Engagement project that you're working on? To me, as someone who's, again, at the starting point of online learning, it's really kind of an exciting little project you have here.
Thank you. The Tools of Engagement project is something that I have been working with for a few years. We're actually going into our 5th year as a SUNY professional development activity, and it's online, self-paced, on-demand professional development. The main goal is to help instructors and also staff to understand how to use freely available online tools to enhance teaching, learning, and collaboration. And the website is publicly available, and I'm sure that you'll share the URL through the show notes, suny.edu/TOEP, TOEP. And what it is, it's an online community that is available, and we try to frame some of the big emerging technology tool concepts, like using blogs and wikis, using audio, video, online presentations. Some recent additions focus on gamification and simulations. And so there's just a page or two that has we've tried to curate some really great resources and tutorials, and just about a couple of the most popular tools that might be useful to help a faculty member meet their learning objectives. And so right now there's partner campuses that are connected to the project. Those faculty and staff from the partner campuses are also able to join a private social network community. We use Google+. And so each academic year we have a small round of incentive awards for professional development funding for conferences and other small awards that if faculty go to those website pages, do a small online hands-on activity, maybe create a small video, create a presentation using a new presentation tool. Then they go into the social network, share a short reflection about what they learned through the use of those tools and how they might use them to meet their teaching needs. So through the community, everybody else is then sharing feedback and sharing advice about other ideas to consider, things to, the pros and the cons of all the different choices that are out there. And then at the end of the academic year, we have a peer review voting process where there's a few people selected to earn conference funding for innovative ideas about how to use the technology tools. And right now we have about 22 of our SUNY campuses and a non-SUNY campus that are involved. But all of the content of the site is not behind that community. So all of the content is publicly accessible. I'd encourage BOCES and any of the schools throughout the country, the world, to take advantage of those resources and share them in any way. It's all Creative Commons license. So we try to, put some small starting points together.
I really like it. And I really like the conceptual framework that you put together. And what I love probably, well, I shouldn't say love most of all, but what I really like is I'm a big fan of Google and all things Google. I
Mhm.
love the way you just created a Google site and you created basically a whole entire, educational entity, learning management system really on a Google site. And that's really, Google makes sense to me. When I get into a lot of LMSs, I just get overwhelmed with everything. But Google, I can kind of customize just the way I want. And so I really liked that idea. So good work.
Yeah, I think we try to model, the site itself is created with the freely available tools that are just out there for anybody to use, and just to try to show what is possible. We try to incorporate media. We've used some of the free graphic tools, using the Google Forms and spreadsheets to collect registration information, and a lot of the SUNY campuses have Google Apps for Education agreements. And so to help the faculty understand how they can best use those tools with their students so that there's the collaborative sharing of information and co-creating information using Google Docs and using some of the tools that are out there and available.
Have you seen the new Google sites?
I have just recently been given access. Unfortunately, there's not a way to convert the site that we have into the new Google sites. I think there will be in the near future, but I've only, I think within the past month or so, been given access to the new Google sites. I've been waiting for it. Here, heard some good things and look forward to playing with it. Have you played with it much?
I have. It's just drag and drop. It's really nice. It creates a pretty simple interface. I guess if there's, what you've created, I don't know that you can create it as, you really have so much on there. So I think they meant to keep it kind of lean and clean compared to the other one, which is a little more difficult to set up, but you could do almost everything on it. So I think there's kind of some plus and minuses to it. But yeah, I heard also that they're going to allow a conversion tool to convert your existing websites, but I think it'll take away some of the look and feel, I'm guessing, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of improvements, so I'm looking forward to seeing what it is.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so tell me, that's kind of your projects you're on now. Is there anything you're looking at in the future, some projects you got coming up?
Well, I think, there's a couple of the new pages in Tools of Engagement, and the one page talks a little bit about simulations, including augmented reality, virtual reality, 3D, modeling and printing. I think just learning a little bit about all those things that are kind of like right around the corner from us, that's exciting. And so being able to try to identify some opportunities with faculty that I work with about how those tools could possibly be used. That sounds very exciting. I've been able to play with a Google Cardboard recently. You wouldn't think that a plain old piece of cardboard would make things so almost realistic. But if you haven't had a chance, or if anybody out there hasn't had a chance to actually get a cardboard and put a smartphone, so what a Google Cardboard is, for anybody that's not aware, it's just a piece of cardboard that you can either download the prints from online and create this holder for your smartphone, or they can, they sell them just for a couple bucks online, and you put it together, little paper doll box, put your smartphone in there, and then with some of the software that's out there, you can create little 360 videos. I've been experiencing some where you can, if I put my phone on my goggle, I can look around and I can see some dinosaurs walking around the actual environment that I'm in. They're kind of overlaid over the top of the real environment. And then there's also some interactivity, so I can click to learn about those objects that I'm interacting with. Google Streets has a VR view that you can go and experience. I've never been to Italy, but I could download an expedition or an experience for cardboard, and it would simulate that I'm actually in that space. And I think the those simulation, a lot of times you can't have that experience because maybe it's too far away, it's not a safe environment, you don't want to be your first surgery on a real live person. Those simulations are going to help us practice things before we actually get into the situation where we have to apply what it is we're learning with consequences.
Yeah, boy, you really hit on something I'm looking at too. I'm a really big fan of the simulations, and I really I was just in a district locally here working with expeditions and Google Cardboard, and I think the potential is really cool, and it's for what Google is doing, it's pretty inexpensive. I know they're also working on Google Daydreams, which you need the Pixel phone, but that's also something down the line. I saw a demonstration of Oculus Rift, and wow. So I guess maybe a follow-up question to that is do you think that's where online learning is going, is the ability to simulate online learning?
Yeah, I do think so. And that's one of the things, one of the SUNY task groups that's in place right now is looking at virtual labs. So if somebody's taking a science course online, they may not have the ability to run a DNA test or some other test that they might be able to do in an actual science lab. So the virtual simulations of these science labs are they may not be perfect right now, and there may be some may be out of reach because of cost, but they are, I believe that they are something that's going to be in the near future that will be connected. So maybe you'll have an online learning component, maybe you'll have an internship in a live situation, maybe at a hospital or whatever, and then some virtual ways to experiment, to try out what you're learning.
Yeah, I think so. I think price point, and it's a new technology, but yeah, I think it's pretty exciting too. And we were just talking about building community and making a personalized learning experience. If you could, have a VR experience where you're sitting at home with the goggles and it seems like you're right in class working with your instructor, that could be pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it sounds from hearing you talk is that where you are at SUNY Buffalo, State University of New York at Buffalo, for those not familiar, it sounds like you've got a pretty innovative campus. Do you think that is? And I mean, are you seeing that when you're looking at other universities without naming names or anything like that?
I would say that UB is very innovative, but there are a lot of campuses out there and a lot of projects that have some really innovative things happening. UB is like a little city in itself, so there's so much happening that I'm unaware of. But yeah, we have a lot of really good explorations, a lot of really good research that's happening on our campus.
Do you feel that?
I think, I'm always trying one of the things about my position is that I'm kind of a professional learner, so that I do get an opportunity to try to keep up on what's happening out there in educational technologies. So I'm always kind of getting information about some really great projects that are happening all over the place. And some of them make me really envious, but then a lot of times I look at what's happening in my own backyard, and I'm also very proud.
Do you feel that, it seems like you've got a pretty good leadership structure in place there that's maybe encouraging that innovation?
I think that innovation doesn't happen without support from the top and support from, across the university. So yeah, there's some really good things, and there's always room for making things better, of course. But yeah, there's some really forward thinkers.
Right. Well, it sounds like the work you're doing is just really impressive. So, well, we're coming up on the end of our half hour here, so it's time for the Speed Geek questions. So let me bring those up. Let me see if I can share my screen without going. Let me bring this up. There we go. 1 second. So I know this is.
I love this tool also.
It's kind of fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let me just make sure I'm sharing this with everybody. There we go. And I got the million screen. There we go. All right, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right, you got 3 questions. So here we go. Question number 1. Star Wars, Star Trek, or Harry Potter? We'll start with a whimsical one.
That's great that you got that question. I'm happy to see that you added Harry Potter in there because that would definitely be my choice. I do like Star Wars and Star Trek, but I would say that I get engrossed in the Harry Potter stories and love listening to them.
Great. For me, that's like an evolutionary process. I think I started with Star Trek, loved that, and went on, then graduated to Star Wars, and then finally at Harry Potter. So I see that as an evolutionary one. So that one would have been hard for me to answer. All right, thank you. So here comes the next one. What's your favorite social network?
I would say that I do enjoy being involved with Facebook, you know, kind of connecting to people that, again, maybe I would not have the opportunity to connect with regularly, family, friends. But I do like, you know, when I'm at a conference, I do enjoy having the back channel in Twitter and, you know, just being able to learn and share. So different tools for different purpose.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Is a tough one. Okay, and your last one here. Okay, what's your favorite app?
Oh, we might have covered that one already. I would have to say that it's the Google suite of tools. So just the ability to share in real time and be co-creating something, and you know the ease of all of the tools that they have and how they work together. I would have to call the suite my favorite app of choice.
That covers a lot, but yes, that's a good one. So, Robin, thank you so much for joining me today. Stay safe in the snowstorm that's on its way. And
thank you very much for inviting me and the opportunity to talk with you and your groups.
Great, you're doing great stuff, and I'm looking forward to hearing your future trends.
Great, thank you very much.
Okay.